All right, welcome back to my definitive question and answer series regarding my book, Dark Mode. I got to the important section of the book, the Dark Mode section, and it is titled Dark Mode 01, like a downloadable file. And this section begins with a very nice disclaimer. By continuing to read, you agree to the terms and conditions in the user agreement. To review your settings, please wait until you have completed onboarding, at which point you will be allowed to ask any questions or voice any concerns you may have. To opt out, click here. And then it goes into readme.txt. All the chapters have those, josh.json. They have nice file extension names, obviously intentional. The Austin story is a little bit different because out of the 6 stories, Austin is the only one that I didn't write at least twice. Most of them I wrote 3 times, like not completely, but the first time would be kind of the bones of the story, and then I would improve it, and then I went back and I did a nice kind of publishable version. The Austin story held me back from publishing this book for a while because it didn't feel done, and right now it doesn't feel done to me still. That doesn't change the fact that I just felt that I needed to get it out of my head more than anything else. So just some notes about this. I wrote the worst written story. You'll notice that the prose is functional in this story. It's not going to... I would never recommend that somebody start reading this book with the Austin story. I only edited the story 1 time. There's still some pretty sizable mistakes in this version that will be fixed when I release the author's edition with all 11 stories. There was a part of the story that was edited out, which featured Austin on a school bus, and he was listening into a phone call from another student. The reason I edited that out was because it implied that the people in charge of the dark mode game were actually like creating some of that they created the accident that the student thought was his fault. And that's not correct. The whole point of dark mode is to coerce people into doing things that are harmful to other people, innocent people, in large part, and to put those actions on the shoulders of the people running the game would be misleading, to say the least. So the real Austin in this story was a person that I knew. Anybody who knows me would probably have an idea of who Austin is. Anybody who's known me the last couple years. Although that might not be true. The real Austin would certainly know who he is as well. The second chapter, or maybe it's in the first chapter, he goes to Fatima's grocery. That's based on Santana Grocery in Minneapolis. I don't know if that's still there, but it was there forever. Fatima, is it My Lady Fatima? Something like that. It's a case, it's a very famous historical case, which is usually credited to mass psychosis. So obviously that's not a mistake. That's why I chose that name. In the third chapter, I think, the chapter that goes into the Colton incident. Colton is just a guy who originally had a little bit more function in the story. In this version, Colton is just kind of a guy who's on the dark list, and he gets a beer bottle to his head, and sort of a very unpleasant experience at Austin's place of work. I don't like that. I don't like that chunk of the text, even though it's somewhat functional. It's just not that great in my opinion. The rest of the story I find to be quite good. At 10,000, 12,000 words, it's way well, it's on the long side of a short story, but it's too short to be anything more than just kind of what it is, which is a very long short story, which is it's useful in the context of the whole dark mode section. It's useful in explaining what's happening to Josh, what's happening to me. Um, and I think that it would be helpful for people to know that um, after I wrote this story, which used a lot of things that people said to me verbatim. So, like, a lot of the quotes in the book are things that my dad said, or things that my neighbor said, or things that the police said to me. And whether it's life imitating art or imitating life, someone shot at me on April 11th, I believe. It could have been April 10th, it could have been April 12th. But it was at like 4 a.m., and I was driving home, and I thought that two cars were following me. So I had gotten long past the point where I was willing to play the part of fleeing innocent person being chased down by stoned teenagers. I wanted to resolve whatever was going on. So, because I thought that the two cars had followed me home, I walked up to the street after parking, and I waved my hand and I said, what do you want? Something to that effect. And the two cars, which I thought had followed me home, were at the other end of the street. They stopped, turned around, came directly back towards me, stopped about 15 feet away from me, and I heard a loud pop, and I looked down, and there was a blue laser sight on my shirt. Um, I like hobbled away, and somebody who was in the car said, "He's lucky I missed," which is obviously right. It's surprising that they didn't hit me. I don't know if it was a real gun or an airsoft gun, or if it was an incredibly elaborate prank, but I treated it as somebody shooting at me. So then I called the police, who came, and they told me that it was a delusion. Uh, I don't think that the officer was sincerely saying that it was a delusion. I think that they were essentially quoting from my book. Now, I didn't quote from the book. It just so happens that the character Josh is written so accurately that I act exactly like he does, and I behave exactly like he does because he is me. So I originally did not want to put Josh getting shot at in the text because I was afraid that they would do that. But I didn't include it in the text, and they still did it. They also chased me to a hotel in Golden Valley, which is very unpleasant. And I saw the real Suzanne, although the guy that she was with was not the real Austin. So maybe I'm confused on that one. The reality is that people don't believe my story, and they're not very interested by it either. I'm obviously not lying, and I'm obviously correct that it happened. Although if it didn't, you can just show me the security footage of 4 a.m. on April 11th at that precise intersection, the part where I interact with an invisible car, and so forth. And I would be happy to revise my story. As of now, nobody's actually shown me that footage. The addition of Dave in the story was, it's okay. There are some things I did to the text after the first version that certainly made it better. There's a huge mistake in it, and you can tell that that in the few edits that I did, I changed the ending because there's like a continuity error. It's the first real mistake I found reading back the book. That will be fixed in the author's edition. As far as the rest of the story, I'd like to edit it down to 10,000 words from the, I think, 11,500 it's at. I don't know why I said that like that. 11,500. But it is a very accurate story, which I'm which I think could be better. But again, it's not going to make you fall in love with the book, but it might get you to be excited for the best story in the book, which is Dark Mode Josh. So I will get around to reading that and editing it, and um, maybe doing like an excerpt reading as well. But that is it for this series of my question and answers regarding my book, Dark Mode. You can buy it on Amazon today. Check out a link in the description, and follow me to see when I release the full author's edition of the book. If you have any additional questions, go ahead and ask them under the video. I'll take a look and make sure that I stay at least a little bit up to date with any questions people might have as the droves of people begin to read this. So once again, Dark Mode and the Drawing Room, a 6-story anthology of speculative fiction. Buy it on Amazon today. And I'll see you next time. Bye.